Today I'm going to show you how I make hand cut and shaped paper flowers. And I learned this technique from Tim Holtz, and I was very excited to try it because I got my embossing machine for Christmas. But as I went on, I began to think, what if people don't have a die-cut embossing machine and they still want to make beautiful shaped dimensional flowers? So I used a technique that I had come up with before, cutting basic flowers out of circular shapes, and I'm going to show you how to cut these today, even though I have a video of how to cut them. And then we're going to make at least one and show you how my techniques differ from his as I assemble them. So he said that he used watercolor paper because he found that to be more durable. But I have tried every type of paper that most people would have available, and I didn't poke any holes through my petals. And actually, I didn't have a stylus, so what I used is the tip of a mechanical pencil with no lead. And even though the paper was wet, I didn't poke any holes. So this is just a demonstration of the types of paper I use. This is the brown paper that you use when you paint the floor, like a craft type paper. That worked fine. This is your basic scrapbook paper. That worked fine. This is a basic cheapo 6x6 craft paper. And of course these are book pages, and I really love book page flowers. So, and book pages are actually pretty durable, so that's what I'm going to use today. So let's move these out of the way. Now, you might have seen my video where I showcased the flowers that I made using die cuts. And I was going to do a video of, I really enjoyed the challenge of shaping every element from paper. And I was going to do a video of how to do that, but it's just too difficult. It's something you just have to play around with until you get it. But basically what I did, let me just do an overview of these ones that I did. There's another one. And then this one is also in the video. So basically what I did, I used your strips that you get from your ends, you know, every time you cut off paper, and little bits, tiny bits of scraps. And I made glue and water sizing, which is why it's too difficult to show. If you get too much water, the paper just tears apart. If you get too much glue, it's too slimy and you can't twist. So you just have to play around until you get the right ratio of glue and water, and you can twist that paper easily and come up with these. And these are what I used for my stems, and also what I used for those little parts there, and then also what I used here, which is just inked ends. And I also use them for the little stamens in the center, just wait till your paper turns to pulp and then roll it in a little ball. And the other tip I would say is make sure your hole is big enough that when you go to thread your paper stem into the hole, you're going to add a little glue. So make sure your hole is big enough that you get it right the first time, because when you add that glue, your paper might turn back into a wet noodle, and then you'll have a really hard time getting your little bud to slide down where you want it. So those are just the basic tips of doing those type of flowers. But now I'm going to go through your material list and what you'll need. So first of all, you'll need a shaping items to shape on. I did not have a Tim Holtz shaping pad, whatever he calls it, I don't know, but I didn't have that. So I used a piece of foam and this piece of packing material, which most people have probably somewhere. Let me see if I can. So it's not quite styrofoam. It's not quite plastic. It's flexible, but it's also sturdy. So you'll need scissors. You'll need something to poke a hole in the center of your flower, a push pin, a toothpick, whatever. And when I started, I did not have a stylus. Now I have one from the Dollar Tree, but as I said, I used the tip of the mechanical pencil. And I didn't have a larger embossing stylus, so what I use is a crochet hook. Not the crocheting end. You want this end, which is round and smooth. And this size is 6.5 millimeter, 6.50, and to me it just works perfect. And even though I did get a larger stylus, I still use this because it works great. So you'll need glue. Most people have a paper punch, a circular punch. I'm going to show you how to shape these, because most people have a flower shape like this or something similar. If you have another size circle, that's great. And if you have something like this, that's also fine to do a center or a bud, something like that. So then he sprayed the back of his flowers with water, like so. But I found they were either too wet or too dry, and it didn't work very well for me. So what I like to do is, I don't know if you can see it off to the side here, is I have a paper towel sprayed with water, and I just let my flowers soak on the paper towel, so that when I'm ready to use them, they just they have the perfect amount of moisture. And I did find you don't have to, let me see if I can get a dry one. You don't have to spray them, but what I found is that the water helps. You see, you can still get a shape even without water. But what I found is that the water helps relax the fibers, and then when the paper dries, it really holds its shape, similar to like when you want to curl an edge for a distressed look. So I'm going to go over the basic way that you cut these flowers, but you'll end up with two shapes, and they're similar to these two shapes. And then you're just going to keep layering these until you are happy with a flower that you like, and the more layers actually the better it looks. This one I believe has 6 layers, and I'm not going to layer so much today for the sake of time, but yeah, the more layers the better it looks. So the basic cutting technique is that you have your circle. Try to stay in frame here. Fold it in half once, and you fold it in half twice, and then you try to do this on camera here. Cut it into a basic, I call it a teardrop. Shape, and actually that kind of reminds you like of a buttercup type shape. So there's one, and here's, maybe you can see better if they're white there. Once you start cutting, they end up all different sizes and shapes depending on how small you cut into the circle there. And the other one is the same. You just fold it once, twice, but this one you're going to go 3 times. So you end up with that. And you're going to cut your basic, I don't know, I call it more like a daisy petal, but it's still like as a teardrop if you want to think about it. And you'll get the hang of this the more you cut. So I had another video where, and there is your second shape. So there's your 2 shapes. So I do have another video where I show flowers that are slightly dimensional and how to kind of emboss them, and for that I just use the end of a marker, and I dab my little glue in the center, put my second one, put my third one, and then I'm not going to do it in here. I have my stacked flowers, and then just give it a push, and then because of the glue and the water, the moisture in the glue, they will stay dimensional. So that's a basic emboss shape. So first of all, I'm going to start with the buttercup type shape. This, let me find one that's damp enough here. So this is just barely, I'm going to give it another little spray because my paper towel's drying out already. If you have a fine mister and you can just spray the back, fine, but I couldn't get it consistent, so. And then you take either your mechanical pencil or your, I'll do the pencil first, and I just shape the edge of this flower. until you get like a little bowl type rim. So I'm going to move to the stylus, but again, really, that's what I used to make all those flowers, is the mechanical pencil. And you just shape them as much as you want. Spray this again. Okay, now this is the fun part. So we have our first shaped edges. Take my crochet hook and I'm just going to gently start at the outer edge of the petal and roll into the center. And these curl all different. Depends how you cut them. And some of them will curl more than others, but that's fine. So there's one. Get another one here. And I like to, my paper towels really must be warm in here today. And he sprays the back and then works on the front. So I just copied that. And you'll get the hang of it once you get the perfect amount of moisture for you. This one's a little odd shaped. I don't know how it's going to curl, but we'll get it. And after you cut out your flowers, if you don't really like the shape, you can cut some more out to get it where you want. But again, this is, you can't really describe it, but you know when you got the right amount of water, when you got the right amount of moisture in there, how well it curls and how well it shapes without pulling, or sometimes when you get too much water you can kind of feel the paper pulling and wanting to make almost like a fold. So there's two, and when I layer these I would stagger how they go. I'll do one more. This is a nice one. Okay, let me see if that's... No, must be really warm down here. Getting too dry and hopefully not too wet. Now that's a nice shape. Okay, that should curl very nicely. So I haven't done these in a while, but the last time I did, I made so many, I still have a box full because I love book page flowers. But you'll see once you start cutting, you'll get the shape that you like, and then once you have it, you can do it over and over again pretty fast. And you can go as far down to the center as you want, and you'll see as you the more you go into the center, the more of a curl you're getting. Okay, so that one almost doesn't even need the other tool, but we'll do it because that will. That's another thing. After you know when you get the right shape, you'll know which ones curl the best and which ones curl more like die cuts, because you really need a kind of like a perfect center to get a lovely little flower there. Okay, then that one will go. So as you can see, the more I begin to stack, the better it looks. So here's another, we'll do this shape. Again, I have to spray the back. This paper towel's too thin too, so get a thick paper towel, maybe even a cloth, and just get it damp, not soaking. Then lay your flowers on there, even the die cut ones, because those ones were made with cardstock, and they're not gonna soak up enough water to tear. Actually, I poked a hole in this faster with this than I did the paper. So there's the tiny petal, or the daisy type. And hopefully you can see that, how it's curling up. I'm going to put a link to his video so you can learn the proper technique and tools from him. But you know how it is when you see something and you want to try it. So then you have to MacGyver something. So you just want to put a slight, and maybe this one is a little too moist because I can feel it pulling a little bit. It's hard to describe, but you'll learn the difference when you get the right amount, because it's really kind of, how can I describe it? It's kind of like if you were cutting something into wood, like shaping a bowl, and you want to and there's a point where you're just going over rough edges all the time, and then there's a point where it's finally smooth and you can get it. You can shape your wood like a wood crafter. Put a little more curl in that one. Okay, there's another little one. Let's try this one. I hope you're seeing this, because I'm not keeping my eye on the camera. And I hope I'm speaking loud enough, which I also have a problem with. And continuing to speak so there's not dead air. Okay, so you can see that one almost curled up without any problem, any extra effort. So I don't know if I'm going to get a perfect bowl out of this one or not either. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to mention, that you can get it to go tighter. If you can see that happening there. It's just twirl the center. And I think I found counterclockwise works better for some reason. Must be the grain. So that one's a little odd, but it's still fine. These flowers are hybrid nature. So they're not authentic, they're just for fun. Okay, let's see, how many do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. Maybe we'll do one of these. Okay, most people have this punch. This one I don't shape the ends. And this one you don't even need to wet the paper. But when you do wet it, the tighter it will go. So there you go. Hopefully you can see that. Hopefully. So there's our little center. And that's 6 layers. Let me go up there. And you have a cute little shaped, hand-cut shaped flower. So the next step, where I vary from him, is he used hot glue. I do not like hot glue, and I do not like the glue gun. So I use fabric tack. Get it shaken down here. And I squirt some on a piece of cardstock or folder, whatever, scrap. Squirt a huge glob there. And then I use my paper clip, and then I dip in there to get my little dab of glue that I'll need when I put these together. So you're going to want to take your flowers, get a tool, and poke a hole in the center of each flower, and make sure the hole is big enough to, wait, I'm backwards here. Sorry. Let me get up there. I'm gonna blur, I bet. This is really weird because my screen is backwards, my view screen. So anyway, you want to make sure you have enough, a big enough hole to thread your thread without using a needle. Although you can use a needle. But the nice part about these is you've already folded them in half and in half, so you already have a perfect place to put your center. Because you actually see a little cross mark there. And that's another thing, you don't want to cut these too far into the center so that you lose that little circle area, because that's helpful to, you have to have that to make your bowl shape. Okay. Maybe I'll put this one in there too, since I already have a hole. Give it a little extra brightness. Okay. So then, here's my string, which I already began. Whoops, I lost my sequin. And I'm going to keep a sequin on there, so I already have a center for my flower. And you're going to want to tie a knot in the end, a slip knot, and try to, well, you can always cut it off, but I try to get it as close to the end as possible. And I tie it twice, just so my flower doesn't come apart. And that I'll cut off. And then there's the little sequin on the end. So, start with my smallest. And I thread my petals down to the end. Here's number 2. Going, oh jeez, this way. Now if you wanted some space between your petals, Tim Holtz said put a big dab of glue from the glue gun. But personally, I would put your little paper punch circles. I don't have any here. There's my, like in the center of that one, your little paper punch. I would poke a hole in those and use those for spacers. So, and there you have your threaded little flower, and then before the glue dries, you're going to want to shape it into how you want it. Oh, and I also forgot to say, you could also, instead of a sequin, you can put your little beads on the end, form a little 3-bead stamen, 5-bead stamen, kind of like those people do that know how to sew beads on clothes. If you do beading and sewing, you probably know how to make those. So this is where I differ from Tim Holtz. I thread all mine, and then I gently slide them apart, And then I take, maybe I'll need to zoom down here a little bit if I can. Get in frame here. Then I take my little dab of glue and I go around the edge of my string. Now my petal's going to get caught together. Oops, come out of there. Now it's all bent. Okay. And then I slide it down. And then I take my next little dab of glue. These ones are tiny, so. And I just go around the string. And that's enough to hold that next one. Then I slide the next one down. And this way I'm not fiddling with, glue gun that dries too fast and petals that aren't on the string and wire, and this is easier. Everything's all ready to slide down like beading. And then I just put it on the edge around the string. Like that. Slide that little flower down. And that one curled up a lot. There we go. And then I just keep going. Actually, this is the hardest part. Not getting your glue tool to get off the paper. And I slide that one down. Almost finished. Okay. That one. So that's another thing. You want to make sure you have enough string there too, because I've done that before where I tried to put one together on a short string and then I was losing them off the other end. So this is the point where you want to begin twisting to make sure things are staggered before they dry. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that there. I hope I have enough space on here to record this long. I never really, actually I thought this camera was gone a long time ago. And then I found it in a drawer and it still worked. So in the end you just want to put your dab of glue in the end. Sorry. And set that aside or hang it up. Just set it aside upside down until that dries. And there is your little, I don't want to touch that glue. There's your little shaped paper flower, which these are super fun to do, but time consuming. And you can, these are cute on, I don't think they would work in a journal, but they will work on a cover. And cards and, shadow box. Just the any time you want to do something three-dimensional. Doesn't have to be in a book or whatever. I use them. I don't have it here, but let me get this and I'll be right back. I have another video where I decoupage these paper boxes, and now Dollar Tree has them, so I made heart ones for